Hello, everyone. I was so proud of myself. Almost on time today. I think on time for probably the first time this week for Live at 5. Guys, welcome to Live at 5. Live at 5 is a show that I do every day Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke, for happy hour. And we've got a great happy hour tomorrow. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be watching in a second. And then on Saturdays, we are doing Sassy Saturday this week, and the Sassy Saturday we're doing this week might actually end up being the sassiest Saturday in the history of Saturdays. Well, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a different type of stream today. I was not really in a news mood, to be honest with you. It's not that there's not stuff going on, but we talk about the news quite a bit on this channel. I wanted to talk about something that's kind of in the news, but is kind of a little bit of like an inside baseball critical race theory, like fighting back against the woke. It's a little wonky. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little wonky, but I actually think that this is gonna be a good stream for everyone because it came to my attention earlier today that Asra Nomani, who has made quite a name for herself in the anti-woke space, the anti-CRT space, um, she got fired from her job at Parents Defending Education, which is an organization that I actually think does really amazing work. Asra Nomani was one of the people that founded the organization, but not the president or CEO or whatever, the executive, the chief executive title of the organization. And she did a lot of work with them, and she was on Fox News all the time with them, and she's also doing stuff with her local school boards in Virginia. But apparently she got fired. I didn't know anything about this until Asra Nomani herself wrote about it in the effing Federalist. She posted this article yesterday, how shaming my school board's racism cost me my job, but not my stand. Now, here's why I want to talk about this. Number one, I mean, Asra Nomani is a pretty significant figure in the anti-CRT space, and to be quite frank, I have had a lot of respect for the work that she's done. I've never said anything negative about Asra Nomani at all. And you guys know I am not above like shitting on people. Like I do it probably more than I should, but like I always like do it legitimately. Like if I'm shitting on someone, I have a legitimate grievance with them. I've never had any grievance with Asra Nomani. There was no reason for me to say anything. And in fact, when I heard about this today, I was actually a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, well, that's a shame. Like, what the hell happened there? But the reason I heard about it was because of our old friend, stepmom, Deb Philman. If you guys don't know why she's called stepmom, don't worry about it right now. But basically, what happened is I got an email this morning from someone who shall remain nameless, and basically alerted me to the fact that Deb was complaining about Parents Defending Ed on Twitter. And I was like, oh God, what happened now? And then I found this tweet, and this is Deb saying, let me go in, she means on, in record right now that I can no longer recommend Parents Defending Ed. To parents defending their children and families, the firing of Asra Nomani was petty and a betrayal of everything they claim to represent. Hashtag I stand with Asra. Well, I was kind of like, okay, what happened? And I looked around and I found this article from the Federalist, and I gave it a quick read, and we're going to read it on the channel. And when I read the article, I'm going to be honest, my first reaction was, I don't think Asra Nomani's telling the truth. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. Cider, I know you like her. She's in your county. And again, I've never had a problem with Asra Nomani before. I think that Asra Nomani does really good work. But as soon as I read this article, I was like, there's more going on to this story. And the reason that I say that is that I'm an organizational psychologist. I have quite literally advised CEOs and executives and managers on firing people. And it's honestly one of the least favorite parts of like the thing of that sort of job, right? Is like I absolutely hate recommending to fire people. I always, anytime I've been brought into discussions like that, I always try to do as much as I can for the person to prevent them from getting fired, whether that be coaching or setting up systems to help them or what have you. Firing really should be a last resort. But I've just been in so many conversations with executives about this stuff that I know one thing for sure. It is never, well, almost never. It is almost never just one thing that gets you fired. Almost never. Like, and the reason I say almost is it would have to be like an egregious action for it to be one thing to get you fired. I'm talking like overt sexual harassment at like the office holiday party in plain view of everyone. I'm talking illegal activity. I'm talking a giant F up clusterfuck that costs the organization like a lot of money. And sometimes that isn't even enough to get you fired. It really does take a lot to fire someone in most circumstances. Not all, but the vast majority. And so what I wanted to talk about, and actually I'm gonna provide a little bit of proof that I think, let me just do this right off the bat, like so we don't have to go through it again later. One of the reasons that I don't think that Asra Nomani is telling the whole truth about why she got fired is, quite frankly, I said something on Twitter. I said, because again, like I'm one of those people that people kind of like look to for opinions on stuff like this. I can't imagine why. But again, I've always supported Parents Defending Ed. I've always supported Asra Nomani, and I tweeted it out. I said, I have no idea what happened in with Parents Defending Ed and Asra Nomani, and to be frank, it's not my business. I do know when people are fired, it's often not for just one misstep. Parents Defending Ed does good work, hard work that most people refuse to do. I support them. And then I followed up with, almost every single person fighting back against the woke ideology descends into madness in some respect. I've seen so many activists become obsessed and absolutely lose it. It's really hard. I hope that's not what's happened to Asra and that she continues her work too. Now, I really didn't mean that tweet as a slight against Asra in any way. What I meant was maybe words were exchanged that were heated in the moment, and maybe there were reasons for that. Because when I say people have descended into madness, unlike the Chambermaid Brigade, I actually don't use mental illness or not, like I wouldn't even say this is a case of mental illness. I would say that this is stress, this is anxiety, this is anger, this is frustration. This is all sorts of negative emotions that get built up, and it's very, very common with people fighting back against the woke left that this happens. Like so, and quite frankly, even if it's not this woke thing, I really want to make this broadly generalizable to like a general population. Like anytime you have stress and anger and frustration that builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, that's a sad thing. It's not something to celebrate. It's not something to use as a gotcha moment. It's a moment to say, like, you know what? Maybe just something got out of hand. I have no idea what happened. And honestly, I didn't even really think that much of this. Didn't even think that much of it. I was like, okay, well, this kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Sometimes it happens. And then Asra Nomani retweeted me and said, alleging women are sluts or nuts, madness, is a tactic of litigators, school boards, and former employers to smear women and moms. You're barking up the wrong tree, Karlyn, and will be well served to not run cover for a situation you acknowledge you know nothing about. And at that moment, I was like, WTF. Now I know I'm right. Now I know for absolute certain that there is more to this story than Asra Nomani let on. I know it for absolute certain, and I'm going to talk about why I know it for absolute certain. And it's not just because Asra Nomani was a bitch to me on Twitter after I have always supported her work before. It's because of how she handled this. And I just want to follow up too. It does seem like Asra Nomani is a part of Deb's Chambermaid Brigade, not maybe directly. I don't think we're not at a point where we're giving Asra Nomani a nickname or anything. But Deb Philman is all up Asra Nomani's ass. Like you have no idea. Here she's responding to Justice, the court jester, who I don't even believe is relevant enough to even spend any time on. And so basically, she's saying like he was like, "Oh my God, Parents Defended Ed dare fire Asra Nomani," and she says, "Not a joke, alas." But it's a reality that it's better for us to be eyes wide open about when it comes to the limitations we face of organizational support. That's okay. Because as parents, there is nobody but us to run to our kids when they have a nightmare. We can do this. Now, I think that she's gotten way too into this. I do. I think she's gotten sucked into the anti-woke rabbit hole, and I think it's had ramifications, and I'm going to lay out what I think happened. We're going to read this article about we're going to get out of Azra's side of this. Okay? We're going to read this whole article. We're going to consider her perspective. We're going to consider what she said in why she got fired. And then I'm going to explain why I actually think she got fired. And it's a really common story, to be honest. We're actually gonna look at my disc profile. I'm going to explain what has gotten me fired from at least one job that I know of. And then we're gonna kind of do a little compare and contrast, and I'm going to basically talk about what are the most common reasons people get fired. And if you ever find yourself in a situation of getting fired, and guys, if you do ever find yourself in a situation, don't have a lot of shame about it. Really, it happens. And most of the time when you get fired, it really doesn't have as much to do with your competence at your job. It doesn't have anything to do with you being a bad person. It has to do almost always with some sort of personality conflict that's going on. And there's just things just aren't gelling like a team like they need to be in order to make things work. And it's usually a really hard decision for the people who make the call. And I just want to talk a little bit about what happens and what you need to do if you find yourself in that situation, because honestly, feeling sorry for yourself and going on a Twitter tirade and writing an article in the Federalist like Asra Nomani did is probably not the best way to handle it. I'm just going to say that right now. What Asra Nomani is doing is not the best way to handle it. And hey, man, like, she even ended up on a fucking live stream on YouTube about this stuff with an organizational psychologist calling her out saying, Asra, you're not telling the truth about what happened because she's already handled this so badly. And I don't feel sorry about it at all because I didn't even think hell or high water about this until Asra Nomani fucking like became a bitch to me on Twitter for no good reason because I was like, hope you're okay, Asra. Keep it up. It's just like absolutely insane. So that's what we're going to talk about today. A little bit of a different thing, but I do know that sometimes you guys like me doing my organizational psychology stuff. And so we're going to do some organizational psychology today. Yay. So that's what we're going to talk about. George Andrew Velasco Nunez says, just read the post on locals. I'm glad the audiobook Odyssey just got a resolution. Well, guys, this is actually the next thing I was going to tell you about, which is if actually let me just do my shill. Let me do my shill for a second. If you would like to support the work I'm doing, the very best way that you can do that is by becoming a member in my locals community. Now, of course, you can always join my locals for free at kb.locals.com and just sign up. You can get a free member. You can take a look around the community. You can see what I'm posting there. But I'll tell you what, it has never been a better time to be a paid member in locals because literally right after my stream today, I'm going to be starting a series of streams that will go all weekend long where I am going to be recording myself, recording my own audiobook for Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. Yes, the audiobook is finally being re-recorded. And the problem is that I'm going to the Libertarian National Convention on Tuesday. And I want to have this audiobook recorded before I leave on Tuesday. So literally starting at around 6:30 p.m. tonight, I will be recording my audiobook live in locals. Brian, am I canceling Sassy Saturday? God, Brian, not on your life. No. No. I will work late to not cancel Sassy Saturday. No, that's not going to happen at all. Now, here's why I'm doing this. I'm going to be doing a live stream in locals that is exclusive for my locals supporters. That's literally just me reading the book. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think that the audiobook is going to come out better if I'm reading to people than it is if I'm just in my office by myself. Okay, so I actually am going to just try reading to the crowd. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't to warn you, I'm going to be stumbling a lot in the reading of this audiobook. I have never read an I'm going to be stumbling. It's going to be kind of like a behind the scenes look. This is not what you're going to see in locals for these live streams is not going to be a perfect reading of the audiobook. Okay. But it is going to be something, and I think it's going to be kind of cool. And so you're going to be able to check in basically all weekend to see what progress I'm making on the audiobook. I do have a limited number of live streams I can do in locals, but we'll try to get it all in within the allotment of live streams that I have, or at least most of it. And I do think it's going to help me out to be able to have an audience to read it to. And I think it's going to be a nice little perk for my local supporters. So if you want to get access to that, again, that's going to be this weekend. The recordings are going to stay up. They're going to be a supporter exclusive. But if you want to get access to all of that, you can head over to kb.locals.com/support. The link is in the description below, and you can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. Now, the reason you might want to consider an annual membership specifically is because when you get an annual membership, you are going to be able to request a free customized autograph bookplate to go right along with any hardcover book that you might have purchased. Or I guess you could request a free book plate even if you don't have a physical copy of the book. You can do something with it, I suppose. But I will send a free customized autograph book plate to any of my annual supporters and locals who request them. And so, speaking of which, if you aren't impatiently waiting for the audiobook to be re-recorded and done, what you can do is you can currently order a hardcover or a Kindle version of Actively Unwoke. I've got a book club coming up that's going to be starting in a couple of weeks, and I strongly recommend every single person who orders Actively Unwoke join my book club, dude. Go to activelyunwoke.com and go to Unwoke events. This is a free perk. It is available to everyone who has purchased the book, and you're going to get to sign up for an exclusive 3-part book club with me. It says pre-order on that image, but I'm opening it up to everyone. So even if you just bought the book like today, you can still get access to it. And we're going to be meeting on June 4th, June 18th, and then July 2nd. Those are all Saturdays. And we're going to have a discussion about the 3 different parts of the book. The first part of the book is a decoding of the woke, and it outlines the rules for the Actively Unwoke, which is a little bit of a take on rules for radicals, but I did it for our perspective instead because we're doing things a little bit differently. On the 18th, we're going to talk about case studies and actionable strategies that everyone can use in any situation to fight back against the woke insanity in their lives. And on July 2nd, we're going to be talking about self-care strategies, what to do if you're canceled, things that Asra Nomani should have damn well availed herself of before she went psychotic on Twitter. So that's what the book club is all about. And if you want to sign up for book club, all you have to do is forward your receipt for the book to bookclub@activelyunwoke.com, and you'll get on the list and you'll be signed right up, and we'll be able to get started in a couple of weeks. And I don't know if the audiobook will be done by then, but at least, we're making progress, and I will probably do another book club later on this year. If you missed this one or you have scheduling conflicts, don't worry. I'll probably do another one. This won't be the last opportunity. This is just the special launch event. All right. With that out of the way, let's actually, you know what? No, I got 2 more things. Sorry, got to shill a little bit more. I do want to make sure people know that I do happy hours every Friday on my second channel, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. And again, the link is in the description below. And tomorrow, we are going to be watching a PBS special, Public Broadcasting System special, deepening understanding systemic racism's impact on education and tools for anti-racist teaching. So we are still doing happy hour tomorrow at 5 p.m. I don't know how much I'm going to drink. It depends on how much of the audiobook I get done between now and then. But we are going to be watching that special from PBS tomorrow and making fun of it copiously. We saw a clip from PBS last week, and today we're watching the full hour-long presentation, and I think I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be pretty crazy. So yes, this is your tax dollars at work. And I hope you join me at 5 p.m. tomorrow on youtube.com/activelyunwoke. And then, of course, as Brian alluded to earlier, we have got the sassiest of sassy Saturdays coming up Saturday at 6 p.m. Graphically, Alex is going to join me, and we are going to be watching The Good Christian and Her Heretic Pastor. I just really want to learn how to be a good Christian from the ultimate Christian hypocrite, Carrie Smith herself, the woman who lies about me on the internet like all the time, the woman who has tried her level best to destroy my reputation by lying to influencers, the woman who has basically made my life miserable for a year and a half, the woman who literally wrote an essay on the internet about how I'm her abusive mother, even though I've only spoken to Carrie directly 2 or 3 times in my entire life and not since October of 2020. And she's still ranting on Twitter about me to this day. So I thought that I would just take some time with Alex, who is a Christian, and I might explore my Christian faith by listening to Carrie talk with her pastor because, sometimes you gotta explore other belief systems. As you guys know, I'm a generalized spiritualist. I don't really ascribe to organized religion in general for reasons. But maybe Carrie and her pastor who will kick people out of their church if they do not if they sin too vigorously or too repeatedly, but apparently it's okay for Carrie to lie and gossip on the internet about me every fucking day. I'm just going to take some time and listen to Carrie and her pastor talk about the meaning of life and their views of the world. And Alex and I are going to have a good old time with it. And that's on Saturday at 6 p.m. I hope you all will join me. All right, let's take a look. And actually, what I'm going to do, because there is actually a video in this article, what I want to do is get this set up in my Chrome tab so we can play the sound. Guys, please mount that like button if you have not already. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I do daily content basically every day of the week. I do different things. I do a lot of serious news, or I cover a lot of serious topics. Sometimes Saturdays are reserved for drama. If you don't want drama, don't come on Saturday because, reasons. But we're a work hard, play hard channel. And so I have no regrets, but I do serious topics most days of the week. Mm. All right. Let's read Asra Nomani's take about why she was fired. Again, she wrote about this in the Federalist the other day. And guys, pro tip, okay, first thing you need to know. If you get fired from your job, don't write about it on the internet. I mean, there are circumstances I could see that it would be like the right decision to write about it on the internet if it was like an egregious action, if there was illegality taking place, if there was some larger point to make, if you'd already landed on your feet and gotten another job. But generally speaking, in the vast majority of circumstances, it is not a good idea to write an article on the internet in a major publication about why you were fired from your job, even if you told the entire truth, which again, this is just my opinion, I don't think Asra Nomani did. But it's not a good idea. I don't recommend it. But anyway, it's already up on the internet, so we may as well take some time out to peruse it. I mean, this is kind of like a little mini sassy Saturday, isn't it? George says, if you give enough money to your church, your sins are forgiven. Well, I actually think that it's more about, I think Carrie's pastor likes that Carrie's a little mini social media celebrity. I think that Carrie's pastor, I was looking at their Facebook page the other day. He wrote about being canceled. I was like, I got your number, Carrie's pastor. You're a fame whore just like Carrie. Anyway, Asra Nomani wrote, how shaming my school board's racism cost me my job, but not my stand. Let's read. I have witnessed a new racism by the 12-0 woke Democrats on the Fairfax County, Virginia School Board directed against Asian Americans like me. When I stepped before my local school board here in mid-March, well on vacation, I knew I had a strong point to make. I just didn't know it would cost me my job. Over the past 2 years, I have witnessed a new racism by the 12-0 woke Democrats on the school board directed against Asian Americans like me, whose children's success in K through 12 schools belie the notion that systemic racism oppresses all minorities. Okay, I want to start here because I've ragged on Asra a little bit, so I want to give her some credit. Asra Nomani is a fucking pit bull, and I mean that in the very best way. Asra Nomani has gotten a lot of awareness around critical race theory and what's going on in the schools in Fairfax County, Virginia. She was one of the people that was absolutely instrumental in Glenn Youngkin's gubernatorial win in Virginia. That probably wouldn't have happened without Asra Nomani. And so I want to make the point that here that sometimes the people who we need the most are also kinds of, well, pains in the asses. And there are times when it is a good idea to be a pain in the ass, and there is a time when it is not a good idea to be a pain in the ass. Listen, obviously you all know I pride myself on being a pain in the ass. Sometimes, not all the time. I literally have professional rabble rouser in my Twitter bio. I have literally gone to school board meetings and yelled, "We know where you live," to make the school board, well, have some feelings, even though I had no effing idea where they lived, but I could have found out because they're elected officials, so it's like public record. So I am not opposed to people being uppity. I am not opposed to, I also think that people have different aspects of themselves where sometimes you might have this absolute pit bull aspect of yourself where you're going after what you want and you're not going to let anything stop you from getting there. And sometimes you just might need to take that down a notch. Sometimes we have to evaluate what is the best approach for the specific situation that we're in. And being a pit bull is not always the best approach. But people who are pit bulls, because not everyone naturally has that. I do believe Asra Nomani naturally has that. I naturally have that. I'm going to tell you more about that in a little bit. I do believe that sometimes people who are in this fight or people who are just naturally pit bulls in general, they sometimes don't know when to turn it off. And the reason I feel like I can say that is I have absolutely done this. I've absolutely done this where I'm so used to fighting. I'm so used to being in war. I'm so used to being in battle. I'm so used to looking at all sides, having people come at me. This has happened to me so many times over the last 2 years because I've gotten canceled so much. I've done it so many times that sometimes I just like it's almost something you can't even control where you're like, "Oh my god, I'm going to be a pit bull," but it's in a completely the wrong moment and it epically backfires. But it's almost it becomes like a gut reaction. And it's something that when you have that inclination in you, you actually have to work a little bit to say, "No, no, no. No, don't yell at the CEO the way you yelled at the school board." And you really have to kind of put the brakes on. Otherwise, you're going to say something that's going to get you into trouble. And I suspect that's what happened here. But I just want to start off by acknowledging that I have nothing but the most profound respect for what Asra Nomani's done in Virginia and her activism and the awareness that she's brought to this. She has made a lot of progress. She has had a lot of victories. She is someone that a lot of people look up to, and they should. So I don't want to take any of that away from her. I do just want to acknowledge that I suspect that some of that bled over into her professional relationship with her boss. And that's just my opinion. That is my professional opinion. And I'm going to explain to you why I think that happened. But when we look at my disc profile a little later, I could be completely wrong. No one, make any decisions based off of what I just said. But that's what I bet happened. Is she was so used to being a pit bull because she's so good at it when it comes to the school board meetings that it bled over. Let's keep going. As I turned to return to my seat after my impassioned 2 minutes, I couldn't have expected what came next. Security officials began walking towards me from multiple directions. Hypervigilance kicked in. I thought immediately of the immigrant moms before me, sitting in the front row supporting me. Norma, Suparna, Julia, Union, and many others. Coming from nations where citizens are jailed, punished, and humiliated for challenging authority that had overcome deep societal fears, cultural stereotypes, and language barriers to challenge school authorities over the past 2 years with courage, poise, and unapologetic fidelity to their children. The painful irony of progressive Democrats flashed before me. The school board that pontificates so often about white supremacy and creating a caring culture had dispatched white security officials against me, An Asian immigrant Muslim single mom. I abhor identity politics, but that does not mean I do not see the hypocrisy of identity politics, and I am not shy about calling it out. I put a mirror up to the school board noting about each security official, you're a white man, you're a white man, you're a white man. I totally get what she was doing here. I totally get it. And actually, let's go down and watch the video because I think the video is in here. Did she take the video out? Did she take the video out? Because I definitely saw the video earlier. Did she take the video out? Huh. I definitely saw the video earlier. That's interesting. That's interesting that she took out the video. Was it at the top? Am I crazy? Wow. Wow. Hang on. Let me just look at something real quick. I wasn't expecting this video to be gone, to be honest. Let me just look at this article from the Daily Wire. Oh, there it is. Oh, God. Well, this might have had something to do with it. Let's see. Is there video in this? No. Shoot. Well, let's read this article about what happened at the school board meeting. Fairfax School Board flees meeting as Asian moms chant racist at them after school board abandons auditorium mid-meeting. Okay. The entire Fairfax County, Virginia board fled their own meeting on Thursday as Asian parents chanted that they were racist following a federal judge's ruling that the board broke the law by pushing agents out of its magnet math and science school, and the board's vow to appeal the ruling later, or rather than reinstitute merit-based admissions to the school. Asra Nomani, the India-born mother of a TJ student who was involved in the successful lawsuit, spoke at Thursday's meeting and told the board, "For the last 2 years, you have been trying to make us invisible, but a federal judge has ruled that, in fact, you are going to go down in history, just like I told you you would, just like the school board in Brown versus Board of Education. You are the new face of racism." Listen, again, mad respect for Asra for that. Mad respect. That was a ballsy move. I have no problem with this at all. But you can see she is surrounded by white security guards. The school board's high-priced firm, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. A security guard approached her, and a crowd of parents, including many immigrants, began to shout, "Racist, racist, racist." "I'd like the board to take a recess," the board chair abruptly declared, and then members vacated their seats and scurried backstage. Same thing happened when I yelled, "We know where you live." They started chanting racist again. A security guard monitored Nomani after she returned to her seat. Nomani asked why he treated her, a 5-foot-tall woman, as a threat. And what did he think I was going to do? Storm the wall? So they're not really talking much about what happened there. It's a shame we can't watch the video, to be honest. I'm really surprised she took it down, and I kind of wonder why she took it down. Okay, now why can't I get back to my article? Jesus Christ, everything is effing up. Hang on, am I still sharing? No, okay. Hang on. I need to find the damn article again because it just took my browser just reloaded. Hang on. Asra Nomani. Got it. Okay. Well, I do wonder why she took that down. That's weird. But we're going to keep going. Let's see. Where were we? So I guess what I'm saying is I totally understand what she was doing in terms of using leftists against them, which is a tactic that I absolutely support. I definitely support, like, sometimes it helps to use their own words and their own tactics against them. Even if you don't like it, it can make the point that they're being raging hypocrites in the entire situation. So she had shouted, she was surrounded, this Asian woman was surrounded by these white security guards, and she shouted, "You're white, you're white, you're white." And when she's trying to point out is the school board is literally enacting white supremacy by using white security guards to go after like Asian moms. The mothers understood my point, as did the white men and women who were watching, supporting us. Online, a blogger later wrote, "Yes, slay queen." I wonder if this has the video. Hang on. Does this have the video? Aha! Aha! Does it have the video I'm looking for, though, is the question. Oh, so she was sharing this shit all over the place. Well, that's another aspect of this little story that she leaves out. In that moment of defiance, the moms sprang to their feet, calling out the school board officials for what they are: racist, racist, racist. The school board fled, the chairwoman, Stella, calling a 15-minute recess. I stood strong, but confrontations like this shake me to the core, as they would anyone. Courage truly is acting, even in the face of fear. I got a comfort meal across the road afterwards at McDonald's as one of the moms, Julia, gave me a ride home, drowning my stress hormones in warm French fries. That's actually a really good comfort meal, to be honest. The next day, Friday, March 18th, I got a phone call. It was my boss, the president of Parents Defending Education, which I helped start in early 2021 to help parents expose corruption in school boards, learn to advocate for themselves, and engage with policymakers. After writing in 2020 at The Federalist about the war on children, I brought with me a database of about 200 incidents of indoctrination I had culled from parent trips, the blueprint for a map to showcase these cases, and 35 years as an investigative reporter to make certain each case was vetted and a thorough process put in place for documenting the incidents that flooded in. I also brought the network of an extraordinary parents who had become pioneers in the parents movement with me when we became accidental activists starting in June 2020 in Northern Virginia. I brought our successful real world experience and penned a field guide for parents across the country. Now, again, I want to give Asra full credit for all the work she's done, which is a lot. But what she's trying to do here, what she's trying to do is say basically, I built Parents Defending Ed, and they can't survive without me, and they would be nowhere if not for me. That's what she's doing with this. She shouldn't be doing this. It is not a good decision. She is signaling to everyone else that she might work with in the future that she's going to be difficult and basically like a little bit of a head case, if I'm honest about it. Over the past year, I was so proud to find and inspire kindred spirits who are moms, dads, grandparents, and community members from Oregon to the outskirts of Boston. In our efforts, the Mama Bear movement was born. That Friday, the director of outreach at Parents Defending Education had sent my boss a clip of my video from the night before. The president told me she didn't approve of me calling out the security officials for their race. That was unacceptable, she scolded me. I was being ironic, I said. What I said was not unacceptable because what I said was clearly satire. Okay, Azra has a point there. And again, if I thought for 1 second that this was the only reason Azra got fired, I would be calling bullshit on Parents Defending Ed so quickly. I really would. If I believed Azra's story, that this was the only reason that she got fired was because of what happened at that school board meeting, I would be calling out Parents Defending Ed in the most epic way possible. And you guys all know that's true because I've done that with FAIR. I call out organizations that I think are bad actors all the effing time. I just happen to not think that this is what happened. Again, that's just my gut instinct. I don't have any inside information. I don't even really particularly care the specifics of it. I just don't think that this is it. For more than a year, I have carried with me a copy of the book, Not My Idea, a book about whiteness, to call out its troubling conclusion to children. Whiteness is a bad deal, showing a contract with the devil. Our school district, like many around the country, has barraged parents and bad white people with maxims about white privilege, whiteness, and white fragility, as evidenced by the resources at Hayfield Elementary School. Our school board members defended a racist admissions policy just struck down by a federal court as patently unconstitutional, anti Asian, and discriminatory. They operate schools that indoctrinate children with the language of critical race theory, teaching white kids and even military kids that they are oppressors in a game of privilege bingo, while the black kids are perpetual victims. I couldn't help but find it ironic that this is the same school board so full of itself for its avowed racial consciousness would be sicking white security guards on an Asian woman. Isn't that racist and systemic racism by their own definition? Doesn't it show their white fragility? I was revealing their hypocrisy using their own politics. Yes, she was. And I don't have any problem with that. I think it was actually a smart move. I just don't think that this is the reason she got fired. I learned irony has its costs. 1 week later at 2:30 p.m. on Friday, March 25th, 8 days after my school board speech, I was fired unceremoniously from my job at Parents Defending Education for, well, being a parent defending education, as one friend put it. So now Asra is turning into victim mode. And listen, that's natural. I don't actually it's understandable why she might do that. Cuz getting fired sucks. It does suck. I've gotten fired I've gotten fired 2 times. Well, I've gotten fired 3 times, but the 3rd time I don't really count because I literally orchestrated my own firing. I wanted to get fired. I had promised what happened, and I actually told this story on my 100,000 subscriber celebration stream. And it's way back. Like, you can go look at it because YouTube shut my spigot of subscribers off right after I hit 100K. But anyway, so I actually told the full story in my 100,000 subscribers celebration stream. But here's like the too long didn't read version. I was at this job. I was miserable. I promised Victor I wouldn't quit. He made me swear I wouldn't quit, but I was so miserable that I ended up orchestrating my own firing. And I have no regrets about it. It's actually a fucking amazing story. And I still hear about it to this day because it happened at New Hampshire Public Radio. So sometimes I still get people. I actually got, fun fact, side note, I actually got a woman who I thought was a total fucking leftist contact me. I need to contact her back. She contacted me, like, she used to work in New Hampshire Public Radio while I was there, and I really, like, I thought she was an avowed leftist, and like we've kind of been communicating back and forth a little bit. And she said to me that my story where like the day I got fired and like made a big fucking scene, it was awesome. It was so great. She said like that's like one of the best all-time stories. So I actually literally still hear about this today. It's a really great story. You can go back and watch my 100,000 subscriber stream for the full version, but oh my god, it was so good. I have no regrets. Sometimes bridges need to be burned and there's closure, and it was just like I felt like I was taking one for every person that had ever wanted to tell off a boss on the way out the door. Like, I gave the most massive middle finger to New Hampshire Public Radio that has ever been given to New Hampshire Public Radio. It's true. But anyway, the reason I say that is like I don't actually count that because I kind of like I it was all me that did it. That was a completely orchestrated situation. So I don't count that as getting fired. But I have gotten fired from 2 jobs before, and it does suck. And one of them, I never got a reason for why I got fired. The other one, I was basically stabbed in the back by someone who was working for me because he wanted to take my job to make more money. And so he went behind my back and orchestrated the whole fucking thing, and it was ridiculous. But like it does suck. It does really suck, and I want to acknowledge that, and so I kind of understand why she's feeling the burn of it, and I kind of understand why she's playing the victim because I have been thrown under the bus before by people I worked with, and at jobs that I literally based my identity on. And I think Asra Nomani, to a very big extent, did base her identity on her job with Parents Defending Ed. I mean, we can see she's taking an incredible amount of ownership over the success of this organization, about what she brought to the organization. So I get where she's at, man. Um, I just don't think that this is the smartest way to handle it. But I do want to show her empathy there. Grandmaster, we do not do this in my chat. We keep my chat nice. Do not be a dick. Like, I've got one rule in my chat, dude. Don't be a dick. And if I miss something that someone else said, I see a lot of people tagging acoustic theory. Hang on. What did acoustic theory say? When you have an ideology that doesn't permit even the smallest deviation from its tenets, then you have, yeah, okay, I don't disagree with that. That was an appropriately worded thing. So, dude, cut the shit, Grandmaster, or you're gonna get blocked, okay? All right, let me see. In a meeting a couple of days later, I had been told, "You chafe at authority." This is one of our clues. They're basically telling her that she's a pain in the ass. This is why I don't think that this is the only thing that happened. They're basically telling her, "You're being a pain in the ass." Isn't that what we're supposed to do as parent advocates? I was told that I had to stop working on school issues in Virginia. I don't believe that. After we, the parents, had elected the new Virginia governor, Glenn Youngkin, establishing education as a cornerstone midterm election issue, we were supposed to walk away? Parents Defending Ed didn't return a request for comment. Well, why would they, Asra? They literally fired you. I was given a 2.5-hour notice with that day, March 25th, my last day. 6 more days on my son's and my health insurance, and one last paycheck, college tuition payments looming overhead. Within minutes, I was booted from the company messaging groups. My Gmail address was disabled without notice. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my colleagues. Dude, I empathize with all of that. It sucks. It sucks when you get fired and all of a sudden, like, I mean, and they all fucking orchestrate this shit ahead of time. So, like, as soon as you get fired, basically your email shuts off, your messenger shuts off, your Slack shuts off. Like, it all happens as they're having the meeting with you, telling you you're no longer wanted. And so it is a really, really alarming thing to go through. It is. I have deep sympathy for how much that sucks. I haven't spoken of the shock of this until now. As I processed what happened, I got a paltry severance and my health insurance reinstated after noting that it was illegal in Virginia to boot someone off health insurance. But last week, a reporter from Mother Jones magazine asked why I left Parents Defending Education for a profile that she is set to publish later this week, and I believe in honesty, I told her. I expect the profile to chronicle my journey from hero to zero, from politically correct activism as a Muslim feminist to a puppet master for dark money, right-wing parent advocates. Those are the kind of hits I got immersing in conservative politics over the last year. But it has never deterred me, because as a fierce opponent of critical race theory, I am the same classic liberal I have been as a Muslim feminist. I believe in free speech, liberty, point of view diversity, and humanity. I do not believe in indoctrination, especially of children, and I reject any hierarchy of human value, old or new. I share the news with my friends and fellow mama bears and papa bears to also share an important lesson I have learned. When it comes to defending our children and America's children, we cannot depend on anyone but ourselves, not government, we know, not also organizations that prop themselves up, or we help prop up because they may also falter. Now, listen, Asra Nomani's not wrong here. She's not wrong. You cannot depend on government to save you, and you cannot depend on organizations to save you. And I would say that of Parents Defending Ed. I would say that of Moms for Liberty. I would sure as shit say that for FAIR, because FAIR doesn't do shit except grift off the entire situation. I would say that for every single organization that has popped up in response to this issue. Many of them, though not all, again, I actually like Parents Defending Ed, but many of these organizations that have popped up, they're either doing it because they're conservative activists looking to take advantage of the situation to make more money, or they're just blatantly trying to grift on the entire situation. Most, not all. And I do believe that some of them have positive intent, but very few of these organizations have actually done anything productive at all. Now, Parents Defending Ed has done things that are productive. They have. Parents Defending Ed was a huge part of why it was exposed that the Biden administration worked with the National School Board Association to collude together when Merrick Garland declared that parents attending school board meetings were like terrorists, and they were working with the National School Board Association on that. Like, Parents Defending Ed exposed that. Parents Defending Ed has exposed Black Lives Matter entire curriculum. Parents Defending Ed exposed that art teacher out in Colorado that we talked about a couple times last week. Parents Defending Ed actually does shit. And this is why I support them as an organization. They're not just all talk. They're not just about raising money. And by the way, they've done some of this stuff after Asra Nomani left. So they're still working. They're still doing their thing. Okay? So I think that what she's saying here is true. No one should ever depend on any government or any organization to save them. That's why I wrote this book in the first place. It's why you don't see me partnering with organizations. There's an outside chance that I might partner on a thing like here or there where I think it makes sense. But the reality is that most of the time, I just don't think organizations are even worth working with. So what she's saying there is very true and valuable. Cancel culture can come for any of us. We associate it mostly with leftist political correctness, but conservatives can express it too, we know. From the recent firing of writer Amber Athey from conservative radio station WMAL for a joke about Vice President Kamala Harris. We must, of course, work within institutions, build networks, and collaborate, but we cannot depend on anyone but ourselves in this noble and important mission. And even in the face of disappointment, we can't give up. Only we can cancel ourselves. Only we can allow others to silence us. On April 12th, with my beloved father, 88, beside me, I walked with my fellow Northern Virginia parents up the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court to press our case, Coalition for TJ versus Fairfax County School Board, against the Asian American discrimination in the new admissions policy to my son's alma mater. Ultimately, it's each one of us alone who has to take that long march to the microphone to face the school board educrats and activists who feign authority over the lives of America's children. It's moms, dads, grandparents alone, most often at kiss and ride drop-offs, wondering what privilege matrix their children will have to leap through at school. It's we're alone who embrace. I'm not sure what she meant there. I think she meant it's us alone. It's us alone who embrace our children at morning start and night's end. We remain steadfast with me. Through thick and thin, we will persevere. We will win. I'm marked next Thursday, May 26th, to sign up and speak again at my school board. So she's going to keep going, and I'm glad to hear it. I want Asra Nomani to be successful. Listen, no joke. I want Asra Nomani to be successful. I just don't think she's telling the truth about what happened. And the reason I think that, I'm going to bring up a different screen. We're going to talk about disc profiles. Yay! I'm a total disc profile nerd. I'm certified in like 3 different types of disc related things. I can rattle off disc profile stuff like till I'm blue in the face. What you're looking at is actually my disc profile. This is the supplement report for my disc profile. And actually, I took this profile live on the channel a couple months back. So you can actually go back and watch how I answered the questions to arrive at this answer. But essentially, a disc profile. DISC is one of the most popular psychological models that's used out there in workplace assessments. Almost all workplace assessments are based on DISC. It doesn't matter if you do the colors or any of these other things. Almost every single workplace assessment is based on DISC in some way, okay? DISC is a model that was developed by, actually, it was developed by a Harvard psychologist who's also the same guy that created Wonder Woman. Fun fact. There's a movie about it. It's called William Marston and Wonder Woman, I think. So like this guy like wrote comic books too, which I just think is like a really interesting coincidence, but it was developed about 100 years ago. It has a lot of research and knowledge behind it. And DISC is the main type of assessment that I use when I'm doing workplace assessments. And so I've done my DISC profile a couple different times because sometimes your DISC profile can shift. So I update it every couple of years. And this is my latest version. And we're actually looking at my supplement report right now. And the reason that we're doing that is I want to show you some specific scores that exist because I'm virtually positive that Asra Nomani and I have a lot in common. Listen, rabble rousing bitches understand rabble rousing bitches. And I am fairly certain that Asra Nomani would score very, very similar to me on DISC with a couple of exceptions. So I want to go over the priorities and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So you can see here, let's look at this. You can see here in a DISC profile, there are four primary types. There's dominance, there's influence, there's steadiness, and there's conscientiousness. There is no reason why the I is lowercase. It is just a branding decision. It's fucking stupid. It's with the specific company that I use to run DISC profiles. It's dumb. Pay no attention to it. So dominant styles are going to be basically like your boss. A lot of CEOs have a lot of the dominant style in them. A lot of like big time executives have it in them. Donald Trump is the biggest D to ever exist. Donald Trump has a very, very high D disc profile, higher than mine. Okay. So you can see there, based on where my dot is in this graph, I am a dominant style primarily. I'm sure you're all shocked. I am sure you are all shocked at this revelation that I can be a boss bitch. Okay. The I is about the influencer style. This is your average salesperson. It's a people person. They can be a little bit of the office cheerleader. They're usually in a good mood. They usually wear bright colors. They just want everyone to be happy and they want to have fun and they want to do lots of stuff. And they can walk into a bar and like know everyone in the bar in like 15 minutes. They're people that can just like start conversations. They are not usually introverts at all, but they always want to get things done. They just want to be on the move. A lot of them have ADD. A lot of them actually can't focus on projects for more than like 15 minutes at a time. So that's what our I's are. Steadiness, the S. This is going to be like the office moms. The office moms or dads, I suppose, or the office non binaries. Don't want to misgender anyone. The steadiness style is going to be a little bit slower, calmer, quieter. They tend to be much more comfortable in support roles. People with the steadiness style as their primary style do not want to be the boss. Some people don't want to be the boss. It's okay not to want to be the boss. Okay? It's okay to be like, I just want to be that person that helps and supports other people and that's what makes me happy. A lot of times people with the S style, they actually talk slower. That's one of the ways that you can identify them. They talk really slow and they sometimes talk really, really soft. And most of the time they're really afraid to speak up. But the ironic thing about the steadiness style is they're so afraid to speak up a lot of the times, but they almost always have the right answer because they're the types of people that they basically like getting a lay of the land and they kind of watch what everyone else is doing and then they might like perk their hand up almost at the end of the meeting and they're like basically say like I think that this is what's going on and no one listens to them because they always speak quietly, but they almost always have the right answer, which is kind of ironic because they just pay attention, they're very thoughtful about things, and they only say something if they've really 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 thought about it. All right? Last up, we have the conscientiousness style. The conscientiousness style, that's our C. This is going to be like your average IT person. This is going to be a very detail oriented person. Accountants are very high C's normally. They're interested in data and process and logic. These are not your feelings people. Okay? Eyes are your feelings people. C's are your not feelings people. C's are your facts don't care about your feelings people. Ben Shapiro is a C. I'll tell you right now. He is a C. He is a C that can sometimes come out of his probably his C state to actually try to act like a normal human being, but he is a C. Dr. Spock is a C. All right? You can see the way this is set up. You can already tell a lot about the different styles just based on these different priorities. So there are 8 priorities you'll see around the circle that align with the style that they touch on the circle. So with D, we have results. That's about Ds want to get things done. Sometimes they want to get it's about meeting goals. And Ds don't actually care how they get things done. They don't care at all about that. They just want to hit the goal. And they will be the bull and the china shop in order to hit that goal. They don't care if they piss people off. They don't care if they make people upset. Again, I know that you guys are all really surprised that I ended up in that category, but that's just the way it is. Dr. Spock. Dr. Spock is C. Next up, we have action, and that's going to apply to both D and I. And action just is about a fast pace. Fast pace. They want to move quickly. They want to get things done. They want to have lots of things going at the same time. The people with a high action score are basically like, if you were to take like a gun analogy and go like ready, aim, fire, people with a high action score would be ready, fire, aim. They want to go, 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 go. They just want something going on at all times. Enthusiasm, which is solely an I trait. This is about being happy. It's about being fun to be around. It's about, oh my God, guys, isn't everything great? Ah! It's the cheerleader style. Then we have collaboration, and this is going to go with both I and S. Collaboration is about working well with other people. Are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to just like take it down a notch, Asra? Take the D down a notch and just, soften it just a little bit, because sometimes we need to make other people happy in order to get shit done, okay? Next up, we have support, and you can see that's totally an S style. In fact, I hate that S's are called steadiness. I wish they were called the supporter category, because I just think like support is actually the most perfect way to describe the office moms. They're always taking care of everyone else, even to their own detriment. People with a high S style will always put other people first and other people's needs first. And sometimes they need to learn that it's okay to put their own needs first. It's all right. Next up, you have stability, and that applies to both S and C. Now, you're starting to see that some of these things are on a spectrum, right? Results is directly across from support. That means some people are going to be more focused on getting shit done. Some people are going to be more focused on, does everyone feel good about things getting done? Okay. It's the same with this, where action is our, okay, let's go, let's get it done. Come on, let's move quickly, go fast. Stability is going to be more about, guys, have we identified all the problems here? No, we don't need to make a decision just yet. We need to make sure we've identified all the problems. It's okay to go a little bit slower. It's not a foot race, okay? Maybe it's like a tortoise and the hare type situation where people with a high stability score are going to be the tortoise, where they're going to be like slow and steady wins the race. We might not get there the quickest, but we're going to solve all the problems along the way. So where action is going to be very fast paced, stability is going to be a much slower pace, and it's going to be a much more methodical pace. And then you have accuracy, and you can see accuracy is the opposite of enthusiasm, right? So while our eye is like running around and making sure everyone's happy and everyone's feeling good and is like planning the office party, the accuracy people are like deep in a spreadsheet. They have like 19 spreadsheets open. They have all these details going. They probably have their office doors shut because they're focusing on just a big chunk of information, because they prioritize data and processes over feelings. And then finally, we have our challenge score. And I talk about the challenge score last because I really think that's the problem here. I think that's the problem. So you notice challenge score is the opposite of collaboration. So with collaboration, people need to work well together. There needs to be compromise. You want to say yes first instead of saying no first. The challenge score is the opposite of that. The challenge score is a type that is very, 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 very comfortable with conflict. About 50% of the people are going to take the DISC profile, and they're going to come out with an above average challenge score. Okay. That means those people, conflict does not frighten them at all. In fact, it might turn them on a little bit. It fires all of the different pleasure centers of their brain, and this can be good and bad. A good way that this might work out is, say you're in a 5K. right? And you've been running this whole race and you're about to see the finish line. You can see the finish line, it's right there. And some bitch passes you in the 5K race right before you're about to cross the finish line. But you've got a high challenge score. You're like, bitch, you're not going to beat me. And you start running because you're not going to let that other person win because you're like, no, you're stepping up to the challenge. Okay. It also means you don't shy away from a debate. It also means that sometimes you might get a little bit more argumentative and testy than is appropriate for the situation. And I think that's what's going on here with Asra Nomani. Now, I say this out of love because if we scroll over to the other side of the chart, you can see my scores for all of these elements, okay? So my highest score in the entire disc profile is action, which means I like doing a lot of stuff. I always have, my locals members will tell you, I always have somewhere between 23 and 87 projects going at any given time. My locals members will tell you, I have like, as soon as I have an idea, it will displace all other 15 projects that I currently have on my list because I want to do it right now. I have the patience of a 4-year-old child with a bag of marshmallows right in front of them. Okay? That's just the way it is. I've accepted this reality. I like doing a lot of things. I'm a deeply impatient person when I'm excited about something. That's why I have too many things going at once and I'm constantly underwater, but it's just the way it goes. My second highest score is challenge. Again, I know you're all deeply shocked at the revelation that I am not afraid of conflict. I know no one saw this coming at all, but I like a good debate. I like a challenge. I like kind of pushing myself outside of that comfort zone. I like challenging other people to charity boxing matches on the internet occasionally. I know. Like, who would have thought that that would be the reality? But I'm sorry. Like, it just is. I don't mind conflict. I don't care if people are pissed at me. And my third highest score is results. And that means I like to get stuff done. I like to hit goals. And oftentimes I don't really care how I get there. So I was talking with Gabrielle Clark, I think a couple days ago, and several months ago, I raised, or I shouldn't say I did it. I helped raise over like $33,000 for Gabrielle Clark just by basically calling Matt Walsh a loser on Twitter for a week because Matt Walsh was doing this stupid thing with AOC's grandmother and playing that dumb prank. And I was like, Gabrielle Clark actually needs money for this lawsuit. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And so basically, I called out Matt Walsh as the loser that I think he is on Twitter for a week, and I helped raise $33,000 for that. Now, some might question my tactics, but no one can question that I got the result. No one can question the outcome. I raised an epic amount of money and inspired a lot of people to make a donation, and we're going to be doing this again. And the reason I did that is I didn't really care how I got there. I just kept hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering until I did it. Okay. The same was true with the Coke Be Less White thing. I hammered and hammered and hammered. The same was true with the Burlington school stuff. Hammer, hammer, hammer. Like, it's just the way it goes, man. When I have a goal, I will do everything I can possibly do to meet that goal. And sometimes that might piss people off, but I have a really high challenge score. And so I don't care if I piss people off. Now, some other aspects about my chart. You'll see everything else is significantly lower. However, yeah, Karlyn sold the most Girl Scout cookies and won the giant teddy bear as a child. I was in Girl Scouts briefly. I did not do I was a very different person as a child. We don't like to talk about that. Childhood was a different Karlyn. Childhood was a very quiet Karlyn. Childhood was a Karlyn that felt really awkward and unaccepted, and so didn't really speak up that much. I blossomed as an adult. Okay? I accepted my true reality. But there are some other aspects of my chart. So I have a I mean, the rest of my scores are low, but I do have an enthusiasm score. I do have a collaboration score, which means I do know how to be nice to people. I do know how to collaborate with people when I want to. I just I don't always want to. Jan asked, is there free disc assessments? Here's the thing. I understand your inclination to not want to pay for one. I get it. Free disc assessments on the internet suck and are rarely accurate. This disc assessment is incredibly accurate. But like sit tight though, because I think in a couple of months I'm gonna be doing a disc workshop. And so I'm gonna give people the opportunity to take this. And if you're really curious about this, do not do a free disc assessment. You're not going to get accurate results. I'm just gonna be honest. You're not going to get accurate results. I have looked at all the free disc assessments on the internet. You are not going to get accurate results. Free disc assessments suck. Okay? But I might be doing a disc workshop in a couple months, and if finances are really a problem, we can work it out. Don't worry about it. So that's kind of my chart, and I think Asra Nomani has a really similar one. And I think that that's what got her in trouble. I am virtually positive, based on the article that we just read, Asra Nomani has an off the charts results score. Asra Nomani has an off the charts challenge score. And I would bet you that Asra Nomani has a less high action score than me, a less high enthusiasm score, no collaboration score, but I bet you she's got a really high accuracy score. I think that so where I'm a D, because I have a high challenge score, I have a high result score, I have a high action score, so I end up right in the center of D. I think Asra Nomani is right around here. And again, I understand this because I used to be one of my old disc pro. In fact, actually, let me look this up real quick. Let me find my older disc profile. Hang on, stand by. Because I used to be this on the chart. So I can go back and look at my older disc profile and just see what's going on. Give me 2 seconds to find it. I can show you guys how much I've changed in the last 10 years because I really think I took this old disc profile about 10, maybe a little less than 10 years ago, but it's been a long time. Let's see. If I have my old one, or is that a different disc profile? But oh yeah, 2014. Holy shit. No! Regenerate report. Oh no. All right, I guess I can't generate a report that old, but you guys will just have to trust me. I had a disc profile that where I was basically like a DC. DC is the hardest work style for a woman to have. It is incredibly difficult. They are perceived as being not a boss bitch in a good way, a boss bitch in a bad way. They are perceived as being extremely difficult to work with. They are perceived as being extremely confrontational. They are perceived as being just really just like kinds of pains in the asses, to be honest. Listen, and I understand it. I've coached a lot of women with the DC profile. And if you have a DC profile or like if you're right here with a CD profile, that's basically the same thing as being right here. But I think Asra Nomani is right here. And it's basically like you're not going to take any shit from anyone and you're not going to modify your tone based on the situation. Okay? One of the things that I learned very early on with disc is that there were times where it was okay to be argumentative. There were times when it was okay to stand your ground, but there are other times when you need to push outside your comfort zone and make other people feel more comfortable. When I first did my first disc profile back in, 2014 or whenever it was, and I saw that I had a DC profile, my big realization in that is that I was pissing a lot of people off. And I had happened to take this profile a couple of years after I'd gotten fired from like the second job I got fired from. And so I had the realization, I was like, holy shit. The reason I got fired, the reason it was so easy for them to let me go is I was always on level 12 in terms of being confrontational, in terms of not taking other people's shit, in terms of basically overusing my challenge score because every single thing can be both a strength and a weakness. Okay. Sometimes it's good to have a high challenge score when I'm going up against a school board or I'm going up against a woke leftist and I'm not going to back down on the situation. I'm not going to bend the knee. That's a positive example of the challenge score. When you're fighting with your CEO constantly, when you're making your boss's life difficult, when you're pissing off everyone around you, that is not a good use of a challenge score. That is a weakness. Every strength, when it's overused, can become a weakness. Okay. I think that what happened with Asra Nomani had less to do with that school board meeting than she might think. I think it had to do with her pissing off her boss on a consistent basis and probably, and again, this is pure speculation, and probably pissing off every single person she worked with because she was overusing her challenge score and she wasn't focusing it in the right directions. And again, I completely understand why that happened. I completely understand that when you are in war all the time, as people in the anti woke movement are, when you're going up against leftists left and right, when the media is attacking you, when people on Twitter are attacking you, when people that associate you with real life are calling you a racist, you are constantly at war. And so it can be really hard to let your guard down and take a softer approach. And I'm going to bet that Asra Nomani was so used to being in war that she didn't know how to take it down a notch, that she didn't know how to collaborate, that she wasn't probably even actively listening to the things that were being told to her. And then she overplayed her challenge score. She pissed off too many people. And then she found herself out of a job. And she's explaining it to herself by identifying one of the times in which she used her challenge score well. She used her challenge score for good, but it may not have been the image that the organization wanted to project. Okay? So that's my best guess of what happens. And honestly, that's what happens most of the time when someone gets fired. It has to do with their relationships with their coworkers. Listen, if there is no good or bad disc profile. There's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse. Every disc profile is equally valuable and every disc profile is needed in organizations. The problems start for most people with this type of disc profile when they don't learn how to collaborate, they don't learn how to play that support role, and they're basically like a bitch and they're never happy. Because at the end of the day, and this is something a lot of conservatives don't want to hear, but it is the truth, human beings make decisions emotionally and they justify them rationally. There's an old keynote that I give, or that I used to give, my most popular keynote ever. It's called Playing Politics, the Psychology of the Human Workplace. I literally have a video of it on this channel. It was one of the first videos I ever uploaded to this channel was me giving this keynote in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. It was a great talk. If you want to learn more about this stuff, go back and watch that keynote. It is still, listen, I was a leftist when I gave it, okay? I was a Democrat. So you might hear some references to that, but the content of that talk is still really good. And one of the things that I talk about is basically that in order to play office politics well, you have to get people to like you. People don't do favors for people that they don't like. People don't support people who they don't like. People don't have the backs of people they don't like. You have to get people to like you. You have to learn. In my case, starting like less than 10 years ago, I had to learn that I was coming across as an epic bitch a lot of the times. And I had to learn how to shift my style. And actually, up until a couple of years ago, I actually used to be over around here. I had much more I in me. I've lost some of my enthusiasm apparently, but I do know how to turn it on. I know how to turn up my enthusiasm score when I need to. I know how to turn up my collaboration score when I need to, because there are times where I do need to get people on my side. And just because it's not my natural inclination to do it, because that's what disc measures. It is your natural inclination. We can always push outside of our natural inclination. Anyone can do anything on this entire chart. It's just a matter of what do we try to do, where do we put our energy, and how much energy is required to do it. So I've had to learn how to shift into the more softer people categories when it makes sense. And I'm going to bet that Asra Nomani hasn't learned how to do it. And I think that that's what happened. And that's what happens a lot of times when people are fired from organizations. They're pissing people off. And they're pissing people off consistently. And they're not working well with the team. Because ultimately, you can have a rock star. And Asra Nomani is a fucking rock star. She is a goddess. I mean that sincerely. I know I sound like I'm ragging on her. But like, I think she's fucking awesome. I'm really depressed that she like railed on me on Twitter, but like I also understand it because she's feeling a little vulnerable that she got fired from her job and is coming out as getting fired from her job. But like she could contribute so much if she could just learn how to work a little bit better with the people around her. I'm almost positive that's what happened in this. We saw that in the article. She was like, I did this for the organization. I did that for the organization. I did this for the organization. I did that for the organization. Well, Asra, other people did stuff too. Other people were there to support you too. It wasn't just the you show. Sometimes it's appropriate for it to be the you show, but she basically wrote in that article like she had built the entire organization. And I'm sorry, no, she didn't. She had a boss. That boss probably works really hard too. Her coworkers probably work really hard too. And I suspect that there was just personality conflicts and it finally came to a head. And that was the decision that was made. And sometimes that's just the decision that's required. It can take a bull in the china shop can be extremely disruptive to an organization. Extremely disruptive. Okay? And sometimes, even if that person is a rock star, if that person is disruptive to the overall organization, it's better to take the rock star out of the equation than it is to try to mitigate the situation because it's just causing too much chaos. It's actually achieving the goal. And sometimes tough decisions just need to, because it like if she was being disruptive in the organization and pissing people off, she was creating lower morale, she was creating lower productivity, it may have been getting in the way of other things that they were trying to do. If she was really asked to stop working on these issues in Virginia, which again, I question that. Again, that's just gut instinct. I question it. If she was really asked to stop working on that stuff, it was probably because it was a distraction for other things that were going on. That's my best guess about what happened. And BTTL says, how do Ds function under micromanagement? I've been fired once and I just say go to war, and I did. Oh God, Ds hate being micromanaged. Oh my God. No, Ds want to be the people in charge. Ds want to be making the rules. There is no one probably who detests micromanagement more than a high D. This is why I don't work for anyone else, dude. I am deeply aware that I want to be in charge, that I want to dictate what I'm working on, that I want to dictate my own schedule, that I want to make my own rules. And this is why I work for myself and I don't work for other people, because I don't want to put that on anyone else. Listen, there is no boss out there, probably. There is no boss out there that A, is going to be able to stand up to me, and B, that I'm going to want to tell me what to do. So I work for myself. And sometimes that's just the way it's got to be. Maybe Asra will be happier in this scenario because she's still going to kick ass and she's going to be able to do it on her terms. All right, guys. People are asking about the disc profile. Is there any advantage to knowing your disc profile if you're retired? I think there's a lot of advantage to it. Listen, I made Victor take the disc profile. I made my own mother take the disc profile. I've made lots of people take the disc profile. So because like it also tells you about your interpersonal relationships. So I do think there's value in that. And guys, just so you know, again, I'm planning in the back of my head right now, I am planning on doing a disc workshop probably in a couple of months. I'm thinking either July or August. And so if you're interested in taking your own DISC profile and learning more about DISC, not only how to use it in the workplace, which is of course my primary area of expertise, but also how to use it outside of the workplace, where you can do that too to have better relationships with everyone, like your spouse, your friends, your parents. I mean, understanding your DISC profile and other people's DISC profiles is amazing. It's like a secret power. This is how I know how to fuck with people effectively. True story. This is how I know how to fuck with people effectively. Because if you know someone's DISC profile, you know their motivations and you know their fears. I can tell you anyone's fears, their greatest fears in life, based entirely on their DISC profile. Yes, I have the Queen from England's DISC profile. Of course, I made him take one. That's why I've been able to fuck with him so epically. So I am going to be doing a DISC workshop at some point within the next couple of months. I will probably be giving a discount to my local supporters, though they'll get a little extra perk. And I think it's going to be a fun time. And DISC profiles are fun, man. This is the type of stuff I do in organizations. This is the type of work that I do, because this is the only type of team building training that I can actually prove is effective. And I've applied it in a lot of different ways, and I just think it's the best. It's a freakishly accurate profile. Costs a little bit of money. It does. I'm sorry. But you get what you pay for. I'm deadly serious when I say free DISC profiles do not effing work. They are not accurate. Sam says, sign me up to be your DISC cultist. Yay. I love DISC. Talking about DISC is fun. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. But I will be going live in a few minutes, in but a few short minutes in my locals community, because I'm going to be recording my own audiobook. And I'm actually going to be filming myself recording my own audiobook, because I think it's going to be better for me to read the book to people rather than me reading the book to myself in a room by myself. So I'm going to be streaming the recording of this audiobook as a behind the scenes perk for my local supporters. This is a supporter only perk. This is not going to be a public live stream. So if you want to sign up, you got to head over to kb.locals.com/support and sign up for $5 a month. You can also sign up for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. All of these things will get you access to the special behind-the-scenes recording of the audiobook that is going to be going on over the next several days, because I need to get it done by Tuesday. All right. John Morgan says, don't forget about Writers Group. That's right. Writers Group is also meeting tonight in locals. Guys, I'm sorry that my streaming of the recording of the audiobook is going to conflict with this. It was just the timing of the situation. I strongly encourage everyone, go to Writers Group if you want to go to Writers Group. It's going to be 7 to 9 in the supporter-only Discord. I will make an announcement in locals. Go to Writers Group if you want to go to Writers Group. Do not let the fact that I'm streaming the recording of the audiobook distract you, because you can always come back and watch that later, okay? And we're going to be doing the introduction tonight. You guys have already heard the introduction anyway, so don't worry about it. All right? Go to Writers Group. Have a good time. You don't need to watch every stream that I do. I'm going to be streaming this crap all weekend, so don't worry about it. I'll send out an announcement for Writers Group, and that's going to be in the supporter-only Discord. And again, that's something you get access to when you become a supporter in my locals. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Again, we will be live. We will not be live on this channel tomorrow. We will be live on my second channel, Actively Unwoke, youtube.com/activelyunwoke. And we're going to go live at 5 p.m. for happy hour, in which we're going to be watching a show from PBS where they're talking about anti-racist training in schools, taxpayer-funded anti-racism in schools. But I thought critical race theory wasn't taught in K through 12 schools. Huh. Maybe not. All right, guys, that's all I've got for right now. Take care, and we'll see you soon.